Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we talk about problems people face in their day-to-day life. Let's start with the video.
My wife and I separated many months ago because of marital problems that many couples face, which led to a separation at first. I have a pretty hard time processing and dealing with the ending of a marriage that I had a lot of faith in, but it was headed in a very sour direction. My wife lost interest in the relationship, making it difficult to fix. And the only reason it was considered a separation before the story I'm about to tell you took place is because I care about my daughter's mental health and well-being and future development more than I care about satisfying my ego or striking back at my ex. In the beginning of our separation, our focus was placed entirely on making sure the failure of our marriage damages our 8-year-old daughter as minimally as possible. My wife was being quite cooperative with the parenting style that we had come up with, splitting the hours equally, gathering at least once or twice a week to dine together, or spending time showing her that love is never a bad investment of one's time. Just trying our best to make sure she doesn't grow up with a toxic, unhealthy, and crooked image of what marriage looks like. Just trying our best to be good figures. I say we, but my wife developed a different opinion as this took place. She went from entirely cooperative and accepting of the situation to doing her absolute best to get out of her responsibilities and find space for herself as selfishly as you can imagine. These tiny changes in my wife's attitude towards our daughter that I noticed gradually increased, yet there was no good way to prove that she was acting differently. But I wouldn't be telling the story if I hadn't figured out a way to do that now, would I? For example, I would notice contradictions in the stories my daughter told me about how they were spending their time, and whatever my wife would say to me from her side. At first, I chalked it up to my daughter's too young and confused mind. Still, as I realized that she was retelling the stories and getting them confused because of instructions given to her, rather than her functioning as a child, she got me working up my brain. It was switching from being annoying and tickling the toxic side to being genuinely concerned for the safety and growth of my daughter. I'm not saying this to justify what I did next, or how I figured out that my wife was lying about her whereabouts with my daughter. Still, I kind of am. Many times, my wife would claim that they were going out to a park, or say that she took her to the museum. Yet my daughter would end up telling me that they went to a restaurant or a football game, or something that would definitely not be reserved to the delight and amusement of a 6-year-old little girl. I was starting to develop my own suspicions about my wife's fidelity before we even separated, and this obviously sus pattern of activities was confirming that and engraving even more suspicion within me. One day, I decided to go from silently pondering and stressing the extent to which my daughter is safe with her own mother to doing something about it. That would facilitate everyone's life and minimize contact between my ex and my daughter, to which she was eventually very grateful. Yeah, Mother of the Year, I know. I bought an Apple AirTag that I proceeded to puncture to my daughter's Peppa Pig backpack, which she carried around with her everywhere, and granted this AirTag permission to follow around my ex's phone, because I wasn't about to let her be notified that an unrecognizable AirTag device was tracking her. It would have taken minimal care and attention to detail, and what my daughter was wearing and eating and drinking from the bag that I packed for her for my wife to figure out that something was up with the bag. A man can only do so well with a needle and a crooked thread. Just the bare minimum of care would have given my whole plan away, but she didn't care at all, and my plan thrived off of that. In the following week, I realized my daughter was spending minimum time at my ex's house, even during the nighttime or early mornings, which are times when she can't be at a dog park or a friend's house. Not only did that, Not only did that, and she was even more not only that, she was even more suspicious within me, but also made me really concerned about how much my wife actually wanted to spend time with my daughter rather than have her be a token or a burden that she just needs to carry around with her wherever she goes because of morality or a superiority complex. It was annoying and concerning, but I didn't answer all the questions that I had, and still wasn't enough proof for me to confront my wife without inevitably causing unnecessary, irreversible damage to the relationship. May I add, I'm not a man that's afraid of confrontation. Still, one that wants all the best for his daughter. Picked up my daughter from my ex's house one morning and saw pure exhaustion on her face from the lack of sleep being carried around from one doorstep to the other, or one place to the next throughout the night. It felt like hell had let loose its worst and most hateful of demons, and it somehow managed to possess me. I was more than ready to break off every connection I had to my ex-wife, but the fight and argument we had the following day, and how she was crying, made me think that maybe I was still the villain. I was probably just overreacting, and the situation was being blown out of proportion by the asshole that is none other than me. Still, I wish with every atom of my being that I have been okay with being the asshole in that situation, and not let it boil down to something a lot worse. I threatened to take my daughter away, and never let my wife land hands on her ever again. I guess that shook her up good. Deaf not enough for her to stop acting even more shiz than made me question her invariantly than previously, because I started noticing through my daughter's AirTag that she was always at the same house, being dropped off and then picked back up at around similar hours, and those hours were always the ones in which I would be around to either check on my daughter or be there to pick her up. I was looking for one final straw, so I would prove that strong enough for me to get full custody over my daughter and this vicious cycle. My ex simply didn't want to put up with the whole co-parenting shiz, and probably not even be a parent in the first place, which was in place jeopardizing my daughter's safety and well-being, and I was having none of it. I don't care if she cries me a river of apologies and sorrows, because at that point, I was fuming with rage and disappointment. Not at her, but at myself, for having fallen in that trap in the first place. At this point, she wasn't even housing my daughter, but rather taking her from me and placing her in the custody of someone else who isn't her parent and who isn't going to love and nurture and watch over her the way a parent should. But if you are to think that she would stop there, then you would be quite wrong, because she had the audacity to come up to me and ask me to switch up parenting times because it was inconvenient for her since she would be working during the weekends. She asked me to take care of our daughter during the weekends instead of day by day, which would mean that she would take her 3 days of the week, and I would have her for the rest of it. I wasn't having a problem with spending more time with my daughter, but rather the fact that she was spending any of it with her when she clearly doesn't want to. I snapped at her once again and told her that I knew exactly what she was doing and that I had been tracking my daughter for a couple of months by that time, and that our separation clearly needed to evolve into something legally terminating. I took a leap of faith and my gut and filed for divorce. My ex came up to me the following week and confessed that she has been acting out because she was pregnant. I'm not sure if in her head it sounded like a perfect plan to get me back off the divorce and my threats to take full custody of our daughter. Still, she was telling me that she had been engaged in a relationship when we were just separated, and in a time that was vital and significant to the sustainability of our marriage, indicated a lot of things. Her deserving forgiveness or any mercy was absolutely not one of them. I got written proof of her telling me that she was pregnant. I talked to my lawyer about the whole situation, and he promised me nothing short of full custody of my daughter. I'm not entirely sure if my conscience will be at bay once the hatred and the anger subsides, and that's probably the reason why I'm writing on Reddit in the first place. So please tell me if I am the asshole in the situation, or if I should engage in it with full force and use this rage and anger to my righteous advantage. Update. I have very much made my decision to go forward with a divorce. I am getting full custody of my daughter because my ex clearly wants to build a life that is independent of the one she previously built for me. I will not have my daughter's safety be the subject of experiment or endurance for her. My daughter is not a task or a burden to anyone, let alone the very mother that brought her into the world. And I will do whatever it takes to ensure that this is sorted through until the end. And I will update you guys in a few more months about how the situation untangled itself. Not the a-hole. There were many points in which you saw the little bit too entitled to me, but I entirely understand where you're coming from, and taking focus of your daughter and keeping her away from your ex that doesn't seem to be too invested in caring for the best for your daughter is the best thing you can do. Not the asshole. I think she doesn't want to be part in a relationship with you because she probably found someone else and she wants to build a life with him, but she's incapable of doing so when she is and will always be tied to you through your daughter. Taking her away from her roasting like a bee, but will teach her many lessons and keep your daughter safe, and that's what matters most. Not the asshole. You sound like a great guy that really cares for his daughter and wants nothing but the best for her. So if you see that your ex is unfit to mother her, and that this is the best solution, and you have the entire community support and green light to go through with taking up for custody. So me, F32, and my sister, F28, share the same father but not the mother, practically making us half-sisters. I never really knew her existence until when I was 25, and until my father confessed to keeping my half-sister a secret. I was honestly really ecstatic since I had been an only child who always wanted a sibling. I found out that I had nieces and a nephew. I always had a difficulty conceiving, and my relationships never last long, so I was super excited thinking about meeting them. But when I reached out to my half-sister and her kids, I was ignored and left on red for a couple of months till I asked my dad about it. She told me that she doesn't want us to be part of the kid's life, doesn't acknowledge me as a sister, and she also told me that I should give up trying to contact her or her family, since her family has the same opinion towards us. I was shocked at her hostile reply, but I understood her deep down and respected her wishes. None of us ever contacted each other, excluding her and our dad's few interactions, but both of us minded each other's business. Until recently, she reached out to me, saying that she wanted to put our past behind us and to catch up. It was surprising due to the sudden attitude change, but I was really relieved. But she quickly went straight to the point and asked me for money. She broke up with her boyfriend, she went into debt, and her kids really needed the money. I pitied her situation and blindly hoped that both of us can fix both of our relationship and send her the money she needed. But then, she cut all contact of me again and never talked to me, till she basically showed up at my house with luggage and demanding for me to take her and her kids in. She told me that because I had a high-paying job, was single and lived alone, I wouldn't mind letting her and her kids stay here, since she became homeless and doesn't have anywhere else to go to. I was still bitter and angry about her ignoring me after getting the money, so I snapped and told her that she shouldn't kiss my ass when she needed my help and abandoned me right after. I was done with her and her kids and kicked her out of my property. She then spread rumors about me to my family and friends. About her getting my address, she contacted our dad since she couldn't contact me and asked about my address. She told her dad that we had reconciled and she was planning to surprise me by showing up to my house. Our dad told me that I ruined the perfect chance to resolve our differences and that I was being petty and childish. My mom told me that I shouldn't have kicked her and her kids out of the house just after arriving and that I should have thought about her situation. Due to that, I felt really bad. Am I the asshole here? Absolutely not the asshole. You're completely right that she's just using you, and I would bet that after they moved in, they wouldn't be leaving anytime soon. Your dad or her mom are more than welcome to look after and shelter them. And it's not at all petty to not want to suddenly live with a bunch of strangers. You tried to help her before, and she showed her true colors. You've learned your lesson and won't make the same mistake again. You're not responsible for her poor life choices, and again, your dad should be the one helping her out if anyone does. Not the asshole, she's using you, OP. She pretended to want to be a part of your life because she knew you longed for it deeply, and she used that to get you to give her things. Thank God you kicked her out, because she would have been leeching from you, manipulating you into thinking that she actually wanted to build a relationship. She lied to your family. You should tell them straight that she's been asking for money, and that she came uninvited and demanded, not asked, demanded that she moved in. She wasn't polite, she wasn't nice about it. She basically turned around and said, "You're doing better than me, therefore you're obligated to help me." I really hope you don't think you're the asshole. The circumstance is unfortunate for the children, but your half-sister is clearly using you and your resources to help herself, but not doing anything to reconcile the emotional disconnect. She is also lying to your dad about needing your address, which lets me know she is aware. You made the right choice. She'll have to figure that out. I, 20, have a friend group of 4, myself, my boyfriend 20M, our friend JJ 20M, and his wife Emil 20F. JJ and Emil are a polyamory couple, but only Emil has a partner. Her partner S is the kindest person I've met. She has a child on the autism spectrum who I'll call baby 5M. Emil loves children. They've been together for 4 months, known each other for 6. On to the issue. We're moving in together this June. Me, my boyfriend, JJ, and Emil. We were so excited for our privacy and solitude. Then Emil said she can't wait for S and the baby to move in too. We were confused, so I asked what she meant, as S had a house already. Emil said she told S she could move in with us without letting any of us know. Now this wouldn't be an issue for me, but this kind of decision would need to be a 4-way discussion, like pets. She then said instead of a 2-bedroom apartment, we're getting a 4-bedroom house, triple our budget. We were all dumbfounded. JJ said sorry, but no, this needs to be a 4-way choice. She immediately got mad. I then remembered the baby. I'll admit, I don't know how to take care of children yet. I have unresolved anger issues and an attachment to my material things because all I ever had was my stuff. You can see where this can go wrong with any child, let alone one with special needs. Honestly though, he's a dang good boy. He just doesn't understand his emotions and doesn't know how to put them forward in a way we understand. And that's okay. I'm just not ready for that responsibility. All 3 of us agreed that if S were to move in, we're not responsible for her child in any way. Then she started insulting everyone, saying that sometimes we sacrifice our own comfort for the people we love. I got upset and said, "But she's your girlfriend. Why do we have to sacrifice our comfort for your girlfriend? She has a house." She went ballistic. She said if we can't suck it up and sacrifice free time to watch him for a few hours while she and S go on dates, then why live with them? It was dead silent. She said that it was either we live with her, S and baby, or we won't live together. I decided that if she's serious about making us choose, then we won't live with her. They agreed. We know we won't be able to care for a child because we're not ready yet. We left. After a few days, I found out S doesn't even want to move in. She said she knows it'll be hard for everyone to adapt to a child, especially one with special needs. She understands that it was her choice to have her baby, and doesn't want to burden anyone. We assured her that her baby is in no way a burden, and we're just not ready personally. She said she'll talk to Emil. I don't know how to feel. I don't know if I'm the asshole because I might just be throwing out a friendship because I'm too childish to care for a child. Maybe I should grow up. But I feel like I have the right to be upset. Am I the asshole?